I'm the content marketing manager here at Waste Consultants, and today we are going to talk about inefficient waste equipment. So we typically find that this is one of the larger areas that people and companies overspend, and they just don't realize it. They don't realize the other opportunities that they have, and they don't realize the opportunities that they're missing out on. Over 60% of clients in the past 18 years have had inefficient waste equipment. Could you be one of them? Today, we'll go over what waste equipment is and what problems you potentially have. So, what exactly is waste equipment? Your waste equipment comprises every waste and recycling receptacle serviced by your hauler. This includes, but is not limited to, compactors, front load dumpsters, open top dumpsters, balers, and toters. Most of you are probably familiar with most, if not all of these. The efficiency of your waste equipment has a direct impact on your waste spend. If you don't have the equipment you truly need, or if you have too much equipment, obviously you'll overpay. You'll also overpay if your service levels are incorrect. Service levels indicate how often trash and recycling is picked up at your location. About 70% of the clients we've worked with in the past 18 years are being serviced too frequently. Could you be one of them? How your service levels are ineffective. Your hauler is paid to pick up your trash, not to find cost-cutting waste solutions. This is so important to remember. Your hauler is not out to help you save money. They are out to make money. As a result, we've seen inaccurate service levels occur in almost every state, regardless of which waste vendor was employed. What exactly do we mean by inaccurate service levels? Basically, we just mean that your real waste disposal needs have no correlation with what you're paying for. You may be paying for 5 pickups a week when you only actually need 2, or alternatively, your dumpsters are too big. Thorough audits reveal savings opportunities. Suppose you have a location in Raleigh, North Carolina with 2 6-yard dumpsters that is serviced 3 times a week by a waste management company. We would find out how full those containers are when serviced, the equipment history for the site, pricing options for less frequent service, and whether the materials in these containers can be recycled. That's actually one of the additional ways that we really bring value to the table. We are able to help a lot of companies find additional waste streams or revenue streams that they're just sitting on, particularly those in manufacturing. We find that your dumpsters are only about half full when serviced, and that it's most cost effective to pay larger dumpsters that get serviced fewer times per week in this example. After checking in with you, we implement the change, ensuring all parties involved are kept in the loop. And this is actually really important. So when there are any changes that happen on your site, suppose we realize that you need instead of having 3 dumpsters, you can only have 2. We would first of all, make sure all the documentation is correct with the hauler, make sure they have everything they need on their end, keep your site managers in the loop, and then the day of, or actually a couple days before, we're pretty good about, we will always actually call the hauler prior, make sure that they, again, have everything set up on their end, they're ready to go to deliver, that the old hauler is ready to get their equipment off-site, and that your site manager is kept in the loop with all of this. So we really value communication when any of those changes are happening, because we know how frustrating it is when things fall through the cracks, or when expectations are set and then they don't happen. And so we really do everything we can to have very high levels of communication to all parties involved in these kinds of situations. So a typical client in this scenario could save as much as $3,000 over the lifetime of their waste contract. Let's talk about waste equipment solutions. Again, another big way to save. For clients who have insufficient equipment problems, we most often recommend one or more of the following solutions. Fewer dumpsters. Sometimes for those, particularly for multifamily or for those with a lot of wet food waste, we recommend compactors. Sometimes we recommend more dumpsters with fewer pickups, depending on what area haulers are charging for service. Sometimes that can be a really good alternative. Sometimes we recommend larger containers, and sometimes we recommend smaller containers. Again, it's all very much dependent on where you are in the country, what haulers are available to you, and what their pricing really is. What we recommend is based on several variables, whether your current hauler can amend your equipment levels, whether other area haulers can provide cheaper service, when your contract expires, and what limitations you may have on site. Sometimes we might recommend, hey, it would be you'd be able to save this amount of money if you get a dump or if you get a compactor on site. But you might come back and then say, well, we don't have room for a compactor on site, or whatever the situation may be. Every site has some limitations, and we're very careful to keep those in mind. So today we're going to cover the top 2 recommendations we most frequently make. We're going to go over fewer dumpsters and compactors. Waste disposal solutions, fewer waste and recycling dumpsters. Are your dumpsters full each time they are serviced? Does your dumpster usage differ seasonally? Do you need every dumpster at every location? You may be paying for wasted space. We often remedy this situation by evaluating your unique location needs. First, we'll scour your invoice history. Do you have any overages? If so, how many? If you have none at all, your dumpsters may not be used to maximum capacity. That's something that we look for on our review. We help our clients find their usage balance. You don't want to pay for too little service and end up with overage fees. So we really help companies find that golden mean, that balance of the right service, the right equipment. You also don't want to pay for too much service. If you have a waste container that is charged by weights, we'll look at your tonnage history going back the past 12 months. If you consistently have low container rates, this is an indicator that you either need fewer containers or that you needed fewer pickups. Our recommendations will take into account pricing from other market providers and your waste hauler contract specifications. We also evaluate your seasonal needs. You may need a contract that stipulates different levels of service based on the time of year. You may need 5 pickups a week in July, but only 2 in November. Tailored contracts make sure you're not paying for service 5 times a week all year if you don't need it. Waste disposal solutions, compactors. Let's move on. There are many reasons you may need a compactor, but here are the top 2. You're a higher trash generator, or you generate food waste. A waste compactor crushes the garbage so that fewer pickups are necessary. Makes sense, right? It requires an investment up front, but it can save quite a bit of money over time. The most frequently used size is 30 cubic yards. It requires that investment up front, but it's really something that can save you money over time as you reduce the number of pickups that you need. We typically recommend compactors to clients who produce larger amounts of waste and those who have space at their site. So that's it for part 1, but you can stay tuned for part 2.